If I asked you what's the hardest part about working nights, you'd probably say things like staying awake at 3 a.m., fighting fatigue, missing that sleep, working against your body clock. There's actually quite a few. And you're not wrong. Like all of those are very valid reasons and true as well. But what if I told you that one of the biggest threats to your health doesn't actually happen during your shift, this particular night shift? It happens after your shift. In fact, I'd argue that for many shift workers, the hours immediately after finishing work are where the most damage is done. And let me explain why. Your body essentially has one goal. Imagine you've just finished a 12-hour night shift and it's 7 a.m. in the morning. You've worked very hard all through the night, and your body is actually desperate for one thing, just one thing, and that's to recover. Your brain wants to lower your body temperature to help you to sleep. It wants melatonin, that sleep regulating hormone, to stay elevated to help you to sleep. It wants to slow your heart rate down to help you to sleep. It wants you to get home safely, close the curtains, and just to sleep. That's all your body wants after a night shift. But what often happens instead for many people, and I'm not saying all the time, but it does happen on that typical drive home. Let's walk through a typical scenario. You've just finished work. The sun is coming up, and within minutes, your eyes are flooded with that bright morning light. Perhaps you stop to grab a coffee, maybe something to eat. Maybe you call your partner on the drive home. Perfectly understandable. Maybe you get home and decide that you'll just put a load of washing on. Maybe unload the dishwasher. Feed the dog or cat. Walk the dog. Answer a few emails. Check social media. We know that that doesn't happen in 1 or 2 minutes. That turns into a long time. Or maybe even mow the lawn is something that you might feel like you want to do, because I'll just do it before it's going to get too hot, depending on, where you are right now in the world. I'm sure some of these are sounding familiar to some of you, because before you know it, it's 10 a.m. or even 11 o'clock. And now you're finally trying to sleep during that day. The problem is that your brain has spent the last 3 hours receiving a signal after signal, I'm going to say that again. The brain has spent the last 3 hours receiving signal after signal that says, "Good morning, it's daytime, it's time to be awake, bright and bubbly." And one of the biggest lessons I want you to remember from this, though, is that your body doesn't know you're a shift worker. It doesn't know how to read a roster. It doesn't know what the roster is telling you should and shouldn't be doing. It doesn't know that you've worked all through the night. It only responds to the signals it receives from your environment. And what are some of these stronger signals? Light, food, movement, temperature, activity, and social interaction. Every one of these things helps your body answer one simple question of, what time is it? And if all of those signals that you're sending to your body is the morning signal, well, then your brain starts switching into daytime mode, even though you're so desperate to go to sleep after that night shift. So, what is the hidden cost of just getting things done? Well, one of the biggest traps I see shift workers fall into is trying to be productive after work. I'll just duck into the supermarket. I'll just get a haircut. I'll just do the groceries. I'll just clean the house. I'll just. The problem is that every just pushes your recovery further and further away. Now, don't get me wrong, we all have responsibilities, and sometimes, life just doesn't give us that option. But if you regularly satisfy your recovery window to tick these things off your to do list, your body will pay the price ultimately over time. And think about it this way: if you worked a normal day job, a normal 9 to 5 type person, would someone expect you to stay awake until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to do your grocery shopping, after you've finished work? Of course not. They'd think that you're crazy. Yet we expect night shift workers to finish work and then stay awake for hours simply because it's daytime outside and we feel a sense of obligation that we need to do all of these daytime jobs. But we really do need to absolutely protect this recovery window. So I want you to start thinking about the time immediately after your shift as your recovery window. We think about sleep as important often, but recovery is truly the key part of this. It's absolutely sacred, this recovery window. Your goal is to get your brain from out of working mode into sleeping mode as quickly as possible. And we know that this is not easy when you're trying to do it during the daytime. So we have to do things to help set us up for success. So every extra errand that you do, every unnecessary stop, or every bright light exposure that you're putting your brain to, every extra coffee, every extra hour that you stay awake makes the transition into that sleep mode so much more harder. So, what should you do? Well, you don't have to become a hermit, but just ask yourself, can the groceries wait until tomorrow? Can someone else walk the dog after my night shift? Can I prepare meals before my shift so I'm not stopping on the way home? Can I wear sunglasses on the drive home to reduce that bright light morning exposure? Can I make getting home and into bed my number one priority when I finish my night shift? And small changes like these can make a huge difference over months and years because they then become a habit, an ingrained habit. Here's another analogy to think about. I want you to imagine that you've just run a marathon, exhausted, right? And as you cross the finish line, you've made it finally, the end of your shift or the end of the marathon. Someone asks you, great, or says to you, great job, well done, congratulations. Now let's go for another 5 kilometer walk. You'd probably laugh at them. I know I would. I'd be so exhausted. Your body would be screaming for recovery, not to go for another walk. And that's exactly what happens after a night shift. You've just asked your brain and body to perform through the hours that they were designed to sleep. You've done it everything back to front. Recovery isn't a luxury. It's the next stage of the event after night shift. So your challenge this week or your strategy for this Fix Your Shift series is that I want you to sit down and do an audit of what you do in the first 2 hours after finishing your shift. Like, be really honest and brutal. Write it down. How many stops do you make? How many bright or how much bright light are you exposed to? Do you stop and buy a coffee or another or a beverage or something to eat? Do you sit down and eat a really big meal once you get home? Do you then gravitate towards your phone and end up scrolling for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, half an hour, an hour? Or do you start doing jobs around the house? Then ask yourself one question. Is all of these things that I'm doing, these activities, is it helping my body to recover, or is it just convincing my body that daytime has just begun, which is going to make your daytime sleep much more challenging? I think you might be surprised by the answer when we actually sit down and write these down. So the bottom line is that, as we know, night shift is hard enough. It's absolutely brutal. Please don't make recovery harder than it needs to be. Remember, your body doesn't recover because your shift has ended. It recovers because you give it the right signals. That's when it starts to recover. And one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself as a shift worker is to protect those precious hours after work, because they really are precious. Because sometimes the most important part of your shift is what you do after you clock off, not necessarily the shift itself. So I hope that's been a bit insightful, given you something to think about when it comes to improving your recovery post night shift. And let me know how you go. And I look forward to seeing you next week.